Cards to Yards, brought to you by the Adventure Stadium and the Adventure Begins, located on 1488, right next to a big old movie theater. I'm Chaz Graves, and here with me today, Preston Laird and Mark Blair.
Hey Chaz, yeah, thanks. There's a lot going on here in the world of sports and sports cards. Of course, I'm with Preston from Adventure Begins Stadium. Preston, what have you been up to the last couple weeks? Are you ripping, flipping, or either? What have you been collecting lately?
Well, speaking of card grading, I happened to get back my PSA submission from 13 months ago. 47 total cards, and out of the 47 cards, I got 19 gems. So I'm not too disappointed. Pretty good overall. The rest were all nines, except for a couple of eights that were 90 Skybox basketball. One was a Jordan and another Magic Johnson. So not too terribly bad. I got a lot of pop ones in there. Got some cool legacy. Sapphire, the pink ice, which are out of 10. Got 3 of those that are Gem 10s that are really nice. So I'm happy with it.
That's a pretty good haul. And if you have no idea what Preston just said, that's fine. Because we're, like we said, we're going to walk you through grading and all other kinds of things. Pink ice someone might be tuning into a sports podcast for the first time and go, what is pink ice in sports? I have no idea. That, of course, is a highly sought after Prism parallel. We'll do some glossary terms when we can.
Card grading is alive and is doing very well. Despite having most services shut down, PSA has graded over 2 million cards in the past 3 months.
Everyone thought, I've heard so many things about card grading. One is that the pandemic was going to kill it because you had all these companies, PSA, Beckett, amongst others. They had to shut down. PSA at one point in March had gotten like 1 million submissions in 1 week. This is March 2020. So obviously pandemic affected this. The fervor of collecting and of grading affected all of this. Other companies followed suit. I know that at some point Beckett just was sort of like, oh, and we're done for now. And now they've opened up different tiers. When you grade a card, you can do what's called an economy tier. You can do like a rush tier. You can do regular. Right now, if you want to use PSA, I believe the cheapest you're going to get away with it is 150 a card, which is not ideal to flip. And it's really not ideal to invest for the future if you're investing in a lot of cards that are 50, $100, right? So back when it was $9 a card, if you sent in 40 or more, and you could turn a $2 cards into 100, that was more what got people into grading. So, but all that being said, a little bit of news: card grading is alive and well. And despite having most of their services shut down, as I said, PSA has graded 2 million cards in the last 2 months, and just last month alone in August, 670,000 grades. Top graded players, Preston, you can probably guess who these are, but I'll just rattle them off. LeBron James, number 1. John Morant, Michael Jordan, Zion Williamson, Luka Doncic. By the way, we're through the top 5. Are you noticing a pattern? It's all basketball. It's all basketball. Number 6, Kobe Bryant. Oh, a baseball player at number 7, Luis Robert for the White Sox. Number 8, back to basketball, Tyler Hero. 9, a football player. Imagine that, it's football season. Justin Herbert. And number 10, another baseball player, Fernando Tatis Jr. Now, when you saw that list, what did you think?
I thought pretty much par for the course. I wasn't really that surprised. Basketball has been king of the hill for a couple of years now as far as collectors go. It seems to be the most submitted type of cards on the market is basketball. So not a surprise. I think that football's made a little bit of headway in the last year or so, but still basketball's a juggernaut when it comes to card grading.
With in terms of Zion Williamson and Ja Morant cards, people are worried about the development of a junk slab era. As you know, junk wax era was late 80s to probably mid 90s, right? I mean, there's some good product in like 93, 94, 95, but A lot of packs circulated, being busted open and collected with care between, I'd say, 87 and 93. So,
Yeah.
unless you have any like gold Derek Jeters or SP A-Rod Gem Mint 10 sitting around, a lot of it's not going to be worth a whole lot. I think the most graded card from that era is the iconic Upper Deck Ken Griffey Jr. rookie.
Yeah.
And people were just kind of worried about the numbers jumping up way high on Morant and Williamson because of the craze with Prism. But we'll have to see. We'll see like
Well,
once all the pandemic submissions are done, which will probably still take months. We'll see how this kind of plays out. I'm interested by Luka Doncic being on that list because I really do think he is looking like a top five
yeah.
player, like
Absolutely.
long term. I still think John Morant's going to end up being better than Williamson. We'll see, and mostly due to injuries because Williamson is awesome,
Yeah.
but he's just that body type. We know as Houston fans, Yao Ming, right? It's like, whoa, that
Yeah.
guy's 7'7", and then he hurts his knee, and you're like, oh yeah, he's 7'7". He has to
But
live. He has to live life 7'7". So
and I thought I was being Nostradamus when I predicted that Shaquille O'Neal's career would be over in like 11, 12 years max, and was proven extremely wrong by that ginormous human being. So you never know. Sometimes genetics come into play, and they got the good genetics, and they can come back and bounce back from little injuries here and there, but nothing severe. But you never know what's going to happen.
well, in fairness, they did have to make brand new equipment to be able to withstand the dunk of Shaq. So,
That's true.
had you known that, had you known scientists were going to have to help keep his career going with size whatever tennis shoes that wouldn't rip open and hyper compression for baskets. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, YouTube Shaq breaks rims, and you'll see they built the now standard compression chamber rims, and I think he broke one in his second game. I don't know. It
Yeah.
was ridiculous. That guy had incredible power. Well, shifting gears a little bit more news. You will not have to wait until this year or next year's NFL draft to collect your favorite college players. There's going to be 2021 Onyx Vintage College Football, and it's going to have football players from this year, from college
Yeah.
players. Now, initial thoughts on that. What do you think about being able to collect NCAA athletes now?
Well, I think there's a good market for it. The majority of your diehard flippers and such, not so much the collectors, I think they steer away from the college uniforms. Anything that's not professionally endorsed and has the team logo on it, then they kind of snub their nose up a little bit. But there's plenty of people out there, alumni and such, that love to collect players in the college uniforms. So there's always going to be a market for that. So I think it's a wise decision for companies to continue to produce such products because there's definitely a demand for it.
I think you make an excellent point about keeping the flippers kind of at bay with this product because the other side of that is that I think if it's an affordable product, I could see you putting it
Mhm.
in college stadiums and making a killing. Now, that may not be
Yeah.
something that happens till Fanatics takes over with all their team shops and stuff, but I think that football fans are so feverish. They may not necessarily be some of the biggest collectors I know, but they just love stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, if you know anyone who goes to like a top 25 school and they have random towels and coffee mugs and flags that they hang outside, it's like,
Oh yeah.
why not give them more stuff and current stuff to buy? So, as Preston said, though, due to new likeness agreement, players can appear on cards, but the school names and logos cannot. So you will have to know your school colors and what the players are that you're looking at. But their names
Yeah.
will, of course, appear on the cards. Yeah.
And along that same line, Onyx Vintage Basketball is releasing this week on the 24th, and that's going to have some of the first autographs of the brand new draft class this past season in the NBA.
Oh, wow. I wonder if that includes the guys that are going to the developmental league, just like
It,
Jalen Green was on Ignite.
you
Should.
know, it might. I'm not sure that I don't think the checklist is available. If it is, I haven't seen it yet, but I know they were working on it up to the last minute because of the legalities and the time frames as far as the agreement goes. The release of this product allows them to have the majority of these draft picks in there as far as hits and such. So
I think depending on the product, I think this could be a real big hit. I do like that sort of like vintage card stock that they're going with, and as long as there's players to chase in there, there's going to be interest from all sides. But yeah, I think bottom line is there's college fans that collect a lot of stuff, and they're going to try to capitalize on that, right? So
Cam Newton was released from the Patriots, allowing rookie Mac Jones to fill the starting role. Thoughts?
the last time that we talked, the NFL season had not been underway. Now it feels like it's been going on for 2 months. Just kidding. I'm a Texans fan. The last game
Right.
felt like 6 weeks by itself, right? But
I
right before the season started, like just after the last time you and I had talked about all this stuff, Cam Newton was released by the Patriots. There was like a shroud of mystery as to why, but look, he was released. Okay, he wasn't getting along with Belichick. That's probably why, but that's all
Yeah.
speculation. Uh, Rookie Mac Jones like kind of busted on the scene as one of the top rookies, quarterbacks to chase after. And this is because of his thoroughbred. He was at Alabama. He threw for 41 TDs his junior year. That was up just from 14 his sophomore season. He was the 15th pick overall.
Yep.
And we mentioned Bill Belichick. He's stepping into that proven system where he could thrive. No nonsense coach, no nonsense player from a no nonsense college program. And obviously, he thrived last season under Nick Saban, who I think is an equally intimidating coach to Belichick. Um, Now we've actually seen that manifest. The Patriots actually won week 2 last Sunday,
Yeah.
and it was a very steady game. He's not going to. I don't think he's going to throw for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns. But Mac Jones looks like he's just cool, calm, and collected already.
He looks like he's been there already. He looks like he knows what he's doing. He knows how to steer the ship, take the steering wheel. Make sure the car doesn't go outside the lanes. He's that kind of quarterback right now. I think there's bigger things for him in the future once he gets more comfortable with the speed of the game and he develops some chemistry with his teammates and running backs and wide receivers. But yeah, I think he's doing a very good job so far. And having a built-in fan base from Alabama, and then you're jumping into the Patriots. I mean, you just got millions of fans overnight with the Patriots. So his popularity is not surprising at all. I think he's got a bright future.
And he just needs to learn the game. Oh, he has a lot of heart, but sometimes that goes against the intelligence that comes with playing the game and trying to
Right.
last, especially as a young player. There was a play from Sunday where he actually tried to get back ahead of the play and throw himself in there for a block, and the whole team
Yeah.
was like, "Thanks, but never do that again, please. Do not ever do
Right.
not do that."
Yeah, look what happened to Baker. Baker was trying to tackle Reed from the Texans on an interception and injured himself. So I don't know why.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that can derail not only quarterbacks but especially young rookie quarterbacks. I mean, you can really derail yourself if you're starting to get in the groove and then you get hurt and you're out, weeks or a season.
Yeah.
And speaking of those millions of Patriots fans, Fanatics announced the top 5 selling NFL jerseys right before the season started. Two
Yeah.
rookies were featured on that list. One we just talked about, but the list is as follows: Josh Allen, Bills QB; Mac Jones, Patriots QB, who we just mentioned; Tom Brady, of course, the Bucks QB; Justin Fields, QB for the Bears; and Patrick Mahomes, Chiefs QB. Now, do you notice a pattern on that?
Yeah. A lot of
it,
big arms in there.
well, and it's just all quarterbacks, period.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit surprised to not see T.J. Watt on that list because I believe he became like the highest defensive paid player right before the season started as well.
That he did. Yeah. I mean, J.J. Watt was a perennial. Made an appearance on a regular basis as far as jersey sales back in the day. When he was winning his Defensive Player of the Year awards and such. So I don't know. He was kind of in and out of the lineup. The last season and a half, he's been injured here and there. Hasn't really put together a full season. So, I mean, he's dynamic. He's awesome, but putting him in the top 5 is a bit of a stretch, I think.
Yeah, so it makes sense that it's quarterbacks. I was just thinking like T.J. Watt because the Steelers talk about feverish fan base.
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
so they need someone to get behind on that. And I guess at this point, since your quarterback's been in the league for 400 years, you've already bought a Roethlisberger jersey if you were ever going to, right? So
right.
that's what's Tom Brady. You do wonder if he would be on this list if he didn't go to the Bucks because you still have people transitioning over and having to get their new Bucks Brady jersey from the last couple of years. So
Yeah, yeah. I think moving to a new city and winning a Super Bowl is definitely going to boost your jersey sales.
right,
One
but
1000%.
yeah, but I guess also every Brady fan probably already had his likeness on a Pats jersey. So
That's
it
true.
probably helps to be either a brand new player or going to a brand new team. Although Mahomes number 5, and who can argue with that? But like I guess people are still jumping on that bandwagon, which is going to be going for a while.
Yeah, I
Um,
think we're going to be a lot older by the time he's done playing. That's for sure.
I think so. And the reason we're talking about jersey sales, in case you're curious, is I think it indicates a buying interest in the player and public opinion on their potential success. So
Mhm.
read into Justin Fields and Mac Jones there. But and
Absolutely.
and speaking of the number one player, Josh Allen, he had a nice bounce back game because he struggled in week 1.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, that entire team had a bounce back day because they looked flat across the board in week 1, and yeah, they dominated yesterday.
They sure did. So let's go right on and move to what happened in week 2. A few notable things I'll point out, and then you can add on as you want. Tom Brady still got it. Me sitting here thinking, oh, Tom Brady, he's going to fall off at any point now. He's going to be terrible. He's going to be the next Sage Rosenfels at any point. And no,
Yeah.
Mark. He had 5 touchdowns in Tampa Bay's 48-25 win over the Falcons, which was a dominant team effort. But again,
Hmm.
I say dominant team effort, but the guy had 5 touchdowns, didn't even break 300 yards or a sweat, didn't
It's
throw an
crazy.
interception.
Yeah.
And and Preston, can you believe this is his best career start as far as touchdowns go? 9 touchdowns in 2 games, his best start ever.
I w- I'm honestly surprised because I would have thought it would have been in the Randy Moss era, personally. But yeah, I mean, and there's a resurgence of Rob Gronkowski. Are you kidding me? This dude looks like he's in his 3rd year. He's playing incredible football. He scored 2 touchdowns in the first 2 weeks in each game. What more can you say about him? They're on the verge of taking over second place on the all-time duos, quarterback to tight end, receiver list. They're going to pass up. I think it was Marvin Harrison and Peyton Manning on the list next, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, crazy. I love what's going on in Tampa. Of course, everybody loves to hate Tom Brady because he's so damn good, but you can't help but respect the dude and appreciate what he's brought to the game and the legend that he's making. We'll be talking about it for decades to come.
Absolutely. And back to Gronkowski for a second. I think he picked up a lot of toughness from being that 24/7 WWE champ during
You
his
think
short
so?
wrestling career that lasted like a pay-per-view and a half or whatever.
I
Hey,
think it
that
was
guy.
pretty damn tough before.
No, I know. He knows how to market himself, though. All jokes aside, that
Yeah,
he can do like this guy. He wins Super Bowls and he throws wild parties. He's like, I want to be a wrestler. I'll win some belts, and then
yeah,
throws more wild parties. And now he's like back at the top. I would probably, if you were building a fantasy team or a real life fantasy team, and you could pick a tight end, I'd pick Kelsey from the Chiefs,
yeah.
strictly based on age right now.
Yeah,
But
as far as
they're 1 and 2.
current status,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think right now, as far as best all time, I think Gronk's at the top of the list. I think that Kelsey's probably gonna close that gap before his career is done and over with. But as of right now, I still think Gronk's the all-time greatest tight end.
I would have to agree with that. I think if Tony Gonzalez got rings, then be different story. But
Yeah,
and then
he was amazing.
he and Antonio Gates were definitely the tight ends of their generation. But yeah, I
Yes.
would say now it's Bronx world. We're all just living in it. We're also living in Raider Nation. However you feel about that, the Raiders are the one of this like America's team, but they don't have the snarkiness associated like I do with the Cowboys, where I just can't stand them. I would
Yeah.
rather the Raiders be America's team than the Cowboys any day because I'm a Texans fan. Houston and Dallas don't get along for some reason. You don't know that, but
You know,
it's yeah. Go ahead.
Cowboys fans, America's team, they're the yuppies and the Cowboys of the world. And then the Raiders, America's team fans are the outcasts, the rock and rollers, the grungy side of the fandom is what you're getting in Las Vegas. And I think when the Raiders are relevant, it makes football more fun. You know, uh, they came out and surprised a lot of folks yesterday. I wasn't completely surprised myself because I thought they looked pretty darn good the first week. And but anyway, what are your thoughts on the performance from the Raiders yesterday?
So what I'm most surprised about, and again, I keep trying to make this all about Houston fans and me, I guess personally, but we know what it's like building a franchise around a quarterback with the last name Carr, right?
Yeah,
And David Carr was never given a chance here. I think he was sacked 77 times his rookie season or something
it was
incredible like
yep.
that. Yeah, and so I think I'm most surprised of Derek Carr staying upright and healthy because
Yeah,
he was another guy that took a pretty bad hit. Just like you mentioned, Baker, Carr and Baker both took hits where they could have been out, and no one would have, blinked because they were pretty vicious. But he got up, they won the game. I know he had a pick, but he also had like almost 380 yards passing.
yep,
And
yeah,
more importantly, they won a gritty game last week against Baltimore on Monday night. And Derek Carr is looking like he can become a top NFL QB, which is what the hopes that they've pinned on him. I can't
yeah,
imagine the pressure that he's under in Raiders Nation. It's a lot harder, though, because he's been off and on the field. Now that he's on the field,
yeah,
they're gonna get momentum, and since moving to Vegas, they've been 2-0 both times. So it's like
yeah.
since being the Vegas Raiders, there might be something about Vegas there, just that happy-go-lucky style. And just an extra tidbit out there. Have you seen that new ESPN documentary where they take Al Davis? They have another actor like physically being him, but
Yes.
they do
Yeah,
the
they have him
deep fake
talking.
technology.
Yeah,
It is
yeah.
so freaky to me. That is freaky. I just
It
had to
is it
say
is
that.
weird. Yeah,
It's
the 3D, the hologram or whatever the heck they did. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's very realistic.
it's that deep fake technology. If you go on YouTube, you can see like where they put Arnold Schwarzenegger into a Bruce Willis movie, and they put his face on Bruce Willis, so it looks like a different actor.
Yeah,
It's weird, but I guess it's like sort of like that. It's just technology that exists, and someone wanted to tell that story of how he used to strife with the current NFL commissioner of his day all the time. And it's interesting. It works when they're in the shadows or when they're facing the other
yeah,
way, but when it's a close up, it's like
yeah,
what? And it
yeah.
looks
Just
like a Disney animatronic, right? I mean,
exactly.
and,
Like the first when they put Grand Moff Tarkin in Star Wars, and it didn't look
yes,
right. Yeah,
right. So I know people are going to feel a certain type of way about that, but if you don't know Al Davis and the Just Win Raiders, I think you should check it out because I really think there's a lot of characters that this generation, I'm gonna sound real old, but like it just doesn't understand what they were all about. And Bum Phillips is one, the Love You Blue era,
yes,
and then Al Davis. There was just so many personalities in the NFL back then.
yep,
Um, Now, as we mentioned, the victim of the Raiders in Week 1 was Baltimore. Baltimore comes in to that Kansas City game, and you're thinking like, oh, Chiefs all day,
yeah,
especially because Lamar Jackson had never defeated Patrick Mahomes.
yeah. He was
I
0-4 up to that point, right?
yes, and
Yeah.
so the Ravens pull it out. Lamar Jackson beats Patrick Mahomes for the first time. They win 36-35. And were you able to watch the game or at least the end of the game highlights?
I watched
Um,
it all. Yeah, and I was definitely surprised. I was not expecting Baltimore to put up that kind of fight. I thought they would lose by double digits, and so yeah, that was a heck of a showing by Lambjack.
and then with just over a minute to go, it's 4th and 1, and Harbaugh's like, "Go for it," and they went
Yeah,
for it. And
right.
they're at midfield. They could have turned the ball right back over to the Chiefs down by one. Patrick Mahomes as the QB could have been a different story.
The gutsiest call of the season so far, I think,
Oh, absolutely.
across the
Um,
board.
so as far as like the trading card game of this, jump on the Lamar Jackson bandwagon. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the crazy numbers and he still has the turnover problems, but the upside to this guy just being able to use, his feet as well as his arm is like they scored 36 points against the Chiefs. That's all you really need to know.
Yeah.
Um and if you're investing in Mahomes, don't panic because guess what? Patrick Mahomes still Patrick Mahomes. And they looked great week 1. So
Oh man.
they have had two close games, but everyone's going to come at you, when you're the
Mark,
Chiefs with that quarterback. So,
I got to tell you, Mark, as far as the primetime games that have been on this season, every single primetime game, including Thursday, that's been on so far this year, including tonight's game, which is tied going into the half, it looks like, or close to it. I mean, they've all been down to the wire, just incredible, fun games to watch. I can't remember when the NFL was this fun to watch. It's been a long time. To me, at least. I don't know if it's me, but it just feels like it's just more exciting. I don't know if it was the break without the fans or what, but it just seems more entertaining, more competitive for some reason.
oh, it's definitely more competitive, and I think you have so many storylines happening on and off the field. There's lots of controversy between the owners and the players as far as like COVID protocols, and then you have so many rookie quarterbacks. So we've seen rookie quarterbacks go in spurts in the draft.
Yeah,
I'm not saying we haven't seen a draft with this many, but I don't remember this many getting playing time this early. And then
yeah,
you just have all these incredible players playing in their prime. I mean, Tom
yeah,
Brady is 50 million years old and he had 9 touchdowns already. So
yeah. It's right. But out of all these rookie quarterbacks, nobody's really taking the bull by the horns and showing us that they're the leader of that team and they're the future. I haven't seen that from really anyone yet, other than Mac Jones on some level, just because of the way that he's leading the team. So this season compared to last season, in my opinion, I don't think is as strong a start for the rookie QBs as we had last year with Burrow and Herbert. Before Burrow went down.
and you just have a lot of guys that seems like, oh, remember me? You thought I was done? I'm still a quarterback, and specifically, I'm imitating Sam Darnold there,
Yeah,
who
yeah,
who's always to me looked like the villain syndrome from the Disney movie The Incredibles. But but and I think that's
love
who
it. That's my
do the
favorite.
Texans play the Panthers on Thursday. So
Yes.
I hope this trend of primetime games lives up to the hype because I don't want the Texans to kill all the fans' buzz with this great streak we got going.
Yeah, I'm hoping they'll put together a competitive game. Davis Mills coming out and starting. It's going to be super interesting. But I think with a few days under his belt, running with the first team, maybe they can stay close and keep it exciting at least.
And speaking of the Texans, they had an injury bite them yesterday because Tyrod Taylor looked awesome in week 1. He looked great in the first half. He goes out. That opened the door for rookie quarterback Davis Mills to come in. He did throw his first touchdown, but the Texans dropped the game 31-21 to the Browns, who, as a fan, I know the Browns needed that game more, and I know that Cleveland is a crazy place to play, right?
Yeah.
So I before week 1, I would have said, "Oh, Browns are going to win 73-3." But then I
Right.
saw but then I saw the Texans played. I'm like, "Oh yeah, we can beat the Browns." And we
Yep.
could have beat the Browns.
Yep.
Tyrod Taylor goes out and in addition to that, it was a bad day to be a quarterback in the NFL. We had Bears Andy Dalton go out. We had Tua on the Dolphins go out. Carson Wentz, remember him on the Colts went
Yeah.
out. And now it could open the door for rookie quarterbacks like Davis Mills in Houston and like Justin Fields in Chicago. But you hate to see just a team get derailed with a QB1 injury right off the bat, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I hate it. It hurts the ratings, I think, in the long run when your star QBs are out of the game. But at the same time, it does create a little extra excitement, especially for the speculators out there. A lot of people that are investing in this rookie quarterback or that rookie quarterback. To them, it's an exciting time when there's an opportunity for them to step in and see what they can do, because that's going to, of course, drive up the card prices. You know, uh, going back to Lamar Jackson, just in that single game last night, it's probably going to jump his prices, 15, 20% over the next week. I would not be surprised if it went up a little bit more. That's how reactive the market is, as we know. So it's a double-edged sword. It's fun. We like to see the vets in there that earn the jobs, but these guys are going to be taken over eventually. So we're going to just see what they're going to be capable of a little bit sooner.
And from a fan's perspective, it's all about winning. Like, we're talking about guys on pieces of cardboard that we like to sell and trade or whatever, and that's fun too. But really, it comes down to winning. I think that's why Mac Jones probably has the most potential, at least right now, because I believe the Patriots can win with a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, so he may not be the flashiest, and Trevor Lawrence definitely has an arm. He definitely made some number one pick type throws against the Texans.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a lot of growing pains for a lot of these quarterbacks because, guess what? They have to play against grown men on defense. So,
yes.
I mean, that's always the great equalizer is age and speed.
Where every single player is as good as the best player that you were playing with on your college team, pretty much. That's what they're facing now. Yeah.
True. Or in the cases of players who, come over from the FCS, they're just in a whole different world right now.
Yeah.
If you came over from the SEC, maybe you're used to the physicality of these players, but maybe not.
Yep.
Derek Jeter has finally been inducted to the Baseball Hall of Fame, man. How cool is that?
All right, Preston. Well, we're going to switch gears to something that happened in baseball a couple of weeks back, and that is Derek Jeter finally being inducted into Cooperstown. And I say finally like people didn't vote for him. No, he got all but one vote, and he called that person out during his speech, right? But I just say finally in the sense of, doesn't it seem like this guy's been a Hall of Famer for the last 8 years?
Yeah, it's probably the most anticlimactic induction in history.
Yeah.
Because of COVID, they postponed the official, induction as far as in public or the acceptance speech. So everybody's knows that he's the greatest, he's the GOAT, and it was just a formality getting him into the hall.
And now Jeter was a rookie so long ago that there's not any crazy Panini Thread 101 cards or on hand, card auto cards. So basically, you got like the Topps Gold.
Yeah, and the SP.
At the SP, a couple others. Yeah. But those are like true rookie cards where it doesn't take a lot of research and knowledge. And so they'll definitely spike. But you see Hall of Famer collecting is becoming a big trend. And so, of course, you're going to have Hall of Fame speculation. Now, just real quick, along with Jeter, he went in with Marvin Miller, Ted Simmons, and SpongeBob SquarePants. Larry Walker. SpongeBob SquarePants was actually in the Hall of Fame now because the shirt that Larry Walker wore when he got the call last year is in the Hall of Fame. And during the induction ceremony, Larry Walker, he did not wear a SpongeBob SquarePants shirt to the induction. He wore a very nice suit, but he had a SpongeBob pen.
Love it.
A lapel pen. It was crazy. But did you know that his SpongeBob shirt is actually in the Hall of Fame now?
I did not until you just said that.
It is. That is wild, isn't it? So I never knew that about Larry Walker, but I think it makes sense. I
was always a Larry Walker fan. Just one of the best pure hitters that I've ever seen in the game. He was tremendous, and I had the fortune of getting to see him play a few times. I lived in Denver for a couple of years in the mid '90s, and Walker is something else. Glad he's in there.
To me, he's really like any Astros fans out there. He was really like the Jeff Bagwell of the Colorado Rockies.
Yeah,
like just like in and out, grinding it out, power hitter.
Without the god awful ugly swing.
Yeah. Those Bagwell's stance has become the stuff of legend, and no one's imitated it. No one's going to imitate it.
One ever will, yeah.
But it's highly recognizable. So there was no one elected in 2021. Are you surprised by that, or does it make sense given that all these players are from the steroid era?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of question marks swirling around the likes of Barry Bonds and Clemens and Sammy Sosa, A-Rod. Ortiz not so much. I think Ortiz is a shoe-in. He's just way too likable. I don't see any reason to keep him off the ballot, for any period of time whatsoever. So, but when it comes to Bonds and Clemens and those guys, it's hard to say, man. I don't know if or when they're ever going to be inducted. I hope they are, because they were certainly a huge part of baseball, regardless of the reasons surrounding perhaps some of their activities during that time frame. No one can deny that it was absolutely the most exciting time ever to be a baseball fan. So, there's a lot of hypocrisy that goes on the subject. Okay, if you want to be real with yourself, you got to look in the mirror and say, hey, did you eat that up? Was that something that tasted good going down? Yeah, it really did taste good going down. It was their decision to do whatever they were doing. It was going on a mass scale. We still will never know the actual scope of it all. I think there's hundreds of players that skated underneath the radar that got away with it. Perhaps maybe some guys local, who knows? I don't know. But I'm just saying, hopefully that we'll get past that. We'll appreciate what that period actually did for the game and the fandom of the game, and leave it at that. I don't think it's some horrible scar on the game personally. As a fan, as a lifelong fan of baseball, I would much rather have a world with that than a world without that memory of Sosa and McGuire going at it, head to head, and some of the most amazing, down to the wire records, ever set. Just super exciting.
And if you don't know the history of this, baseball, had that brutal strike in the mid 90s, wasn't recovering at all fan base wise. And then two guys, Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa, come along, and it's like, if you know anything about sports, you know that back in the 80s in basketball, there was Magic and Bird, and then there was Jordan and Bird. So you swap out Magic for Jordan. And then there's Sosa and McGuire. And you
Yeah.
don't really have those two like dueling icons. Like there is no one battling Tom Brady. There's not another quarterback with 7 rings. there's
Yeah.
not there's not another LeBron right now. Like you don't have they were like best buds, and they were just hitting all the home runs. That was the ladies love the long ball era, like everyone just ate it up so much. And then you had all the the Barry Bonds asterisk ball and all this stuff that came from that. It's not looking good for Bonds, Clemens, and Sosa because it's their 10th and final year. So they don't, unless the writers were just being passive aggressive this whole time,
Yeah.
they're done. They're
Yeah.
done. And then as you mentioned, A-Rod and Ortiz, I think they're both good. And I only say that about A-Rod because he was definitely embroiled in that. But
Yeah.
he had 696 home runs, and
Yeah.
everything he did in Seattle early in his career, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, well, you could say the same about Bonds. Everything he did early in his career, because he was
I
an
know.
amazing hitter that hit for power and average before all of this happened. So, A-Rod, I think, is in the same category personally, in my opinion, as the rest. I don't think he's below them. I don't think he's above them. I think he's right alongside them. I don't see how he's going to get preferential treatment versus the other three guys. I just don't. He may,
Uh,
but
I
I don't.
I think I think the sad fact of the matter is he's probably less hated by the media than Bonds,
Well,
and
it's
I
because
think that's
people
gonna.
pity him in his actions more than anything, in my opinion. I don't think it's because they
Mm.
respect him. I don't think there's a whole lot to respect there. But to each his own. We'll see.
Well, we'll see how that happens. And again, Ortiz, a first year ballot that he's gonna be able to get in as a DH, which is super rare. If
Yeah,
you follow the hall, but 541 home runs and 3 World Series rings for Ortiz, so it's
yeah.
looking good.
I mean, 541 home runs. That's all you need. I mean, he could have a 200 average, and he'd still get in with those numbers.
And there's real quickly, I'm just gonna put some tennis out into the
Hey,
universe,
that's
okay?
fine. I'm,
And
I'm all
and
about some Djokovic. Let's go.
and I'm doing this because there's been a big uptick in people trying to guess what sport's going to be hot next. Is it going to be, gymnastics and the top Simone Biles card? Is it going to be Tiger Woods rookie card from golf? Um, Tennis doesn't have a lot of cards. I think if someone stepped up and bought the license like Upper Deck and made a really nice like throwback to the mid 2000s with,
Yes.
autographs and,
Yes.
racket pieces and stuff, it would sell like hotcakes right now. But
Absolutely.
but if you don't know, there's basically on the men's side of tennis, there's Novak Djokovic, there's Nadal, and Roger Federer, and they're all tied with 20 majors each. Couple weeks back, Djokovic had a chance. He was in the U.S. Open final. He got beat in straight sets. However, he's still the youngest and healthiest of the three. I
Yeah.
think when he hits that 21st major, which will be a record, I think you're going to see his stuff skyrocket. And there's not much to choose from. There's like a Net
Yeah.
Pro rookie
Yeah.
out there, and then there's a Sports Illustrated for Kids rookie out there.
Yeah. The
and
Net
then,
Pro.
yeah,
Net Pro is the go-to for the tennis players, that's for sure. Your Serenas and Djokovic's and such. But yeah, I mean, the tennis cards, those nitros have gone up exponentially in the last year and a half. 6 months, a whole heck of a lot more because Serena was chasing those records for a while, and she's fallen short, unfortunately. Excuse me, after several attempts, and so Djokovic just poured all that excitement right back into it with this pursuit of the natural Grand Slam, which was, winning all four of the major tournaments in a calendar year that hasn't happened in what, 60 years?
yeah, it's crazy. It
I
hasn't
mean,
happened in a long time, and
so
it's such a hard feat.
so we're talking about something that's more rare than a triple crown. It's more rare than a Kentucky than the triple crown in racing and
Hmm.
baseball. 60 home runs. It's more rare. It's more rare than a perfect game. It's yeah. It's one of the rarest feats that you can possibly imagine in professional sports. And if he had done that, then yeah, his cards would have gone through the roof, and you and I never could have ever afforded one, I'm sure.
No,
But but
um,
we'll see.
but that's a hole for now, as he did lose in the finale to
Yep.
Medvedev, and in straight sets, which is a little surprising. Just the way he ran through the other majors, just racking up the first three. I thought it was a shoe in at that point. No Nadal, no Federer. And then another fun fact, I think it was the first U.S. Open in 22 years to not have a Williams sister playing in it. So
Yeah.
they're obviously getting up there in age and have definitely been bit by the injury bug. But tennis is wide open, man.
Yeah.
You had the three dudes in men's tennis, and then on the women's side, it's going to be fun to watch. If you like tennis, this is a good time to watch it. You don't have the Agassi Sampras, but you do have the Djokovic, Nadal,
Yes.
Federer.
Yes.
The difference is it was Nadal and Federer first. Djokovic came in, and now he's sort of like the young one. But
Yep.
they're obviously all grizzled
I
veterans at this point.
I
Yeah.
remember when he was chasing Federer. He was always just a step short of beating Federer on a regular basis, and then all of a sudden, his conditioning went up. I've kind of followed his career over the years. I'm a tennis fan. I'm a tennis player. I haven't played as much lately as I'd like to, but I've played for many, many years of my life. And I was fortunate enough to see Agassi win a championship in the '90s in person, and just I loved the sport. I loved the American players that we had back in the day when we could cheer for the Samprases and Agassi's and such. And now, unfortunately, we don't have a whole lot of male American players that are in the top 20, 30 in the world. But I know on the women's side, we've got several that are up and comers that are showing a whole lot of promise. So I think tennis is in a really good spot right now, and building towards a bright future.
I believe so too. I think, and it's just when and right now, if you've never been into tennis, if you can't get into it watching these three dominate right now, I mean, we're talking about three separate humans with
Yeah,
20 major wins each. You'll never get into it, but it's a fun sport, and I think the card potential is there in the future. I think that's something whoever wants to buy all the licenses, whether it's Fanatics or someone else, make a high quality tennis set, just like
That
you're
would be a
doing with
wise
golf.
decision.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm sure somebody's working on it right now. They have to be.
Hopefully so. Well, we'll keep an eye on that and see who gets to that 21st major first.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some sports cars that are coming out, man. The new stuff.
The new stuff.
The new stuff.
The new stuff.
It's Jared.
I'm Jared.
So now, Preston, let's talk about some recent sports card releases. And we're gonna mix it up a little bit because we're actually gonna throw a WNBA product in
Yeah.
there as well. But we'll do that. Let's do a football and a baseball. So let's start out. What's become really a hobby staple type of release is 2021 Donruss football. And you remember, and I remember chasing rated rookies
Yeah.
X amount of decades ago.
Heck yeah.
So even though the price point a little bit higher in 2021, what do you
Yeah.
think about this set overall?
Well, the product flew off the shelves. We couldn't keep it in stock. We went through our allotment in probably, I'd say, 6 to 7 days, and it was gone. We've restocked a few times, and we're selling it very well. So it's doing very well. People love the rated rookies. Price point is a little bit of a stickler, but we're still at or just a hair below what market is on the product. So.
And just with the rated rookies, I think you get, I don't remember if it was 10 or 18 per box, but it's one of those things where those are going to be more short printed than your base. But then you have all these like fun base sets to chase, or parallels like the helmet off series. And then I saw like a throwback. There's an Aqueous test, which is like a printing test, and it was sort of like an unannounced. So if you're
Okay.
ever going through your cards, turn it over, and there's like a big aqua blue Aqueous test on some of these, so that's going to get a premium. And then, as you said, price point, around $500. But if you look at all the other products, to me, this is still a fun rep because you get 10 cards per pack, you get 18 packs per box. As I said, you get about 10 rated rookies per hobby box, and that's the 350 card base set. So for someone like me who obviously wants value, but also is a set builder, that's 250 veterans and then 100 rookies. So I think that's a good mix. And then you have all the fun Donruss parallels, and then you have some of the inserts like downtown, and you do there's some big case hits out there as well.
Yeah.
And on YouTube, I saw someone pull a 5/5 Brady auto. So I mean, there's value out there.
Yeah.
To be
That's
sure.
crazy.
But Donruss has always been a fun product, and rated rookies holds a special place in my heart just because it's like I love that little blue font design on the bottom, and I love rookie cards. So it's a good. I think that's a good product to start with if you're trying to jump back in. There will be retail versions, but of course you don't have the guarantees of autos and higher end parallels like we're talking about in that. But if you just want something to rip, I think that's a fun option. Now, the first and only WNBA product of the 21-21 or of the 2021 season is Prism. How's that been doing?
It's kind of a slow seller for us so far. Yeah, we've sold a few boxes in a handful of packs, and I don't know, just not a whole lot of fan base for WNBA when it comes to card collecting. Not something that you see on a regular basis or have a lot of requests for. We like to have it just to say that we've got all the products that have come out that are new and have a good selection. But as far as popularity, it's not at the top of the list, that's for sure. But it's still got some high quality stuff in it.
Oh, for sure. It's always it's a manageable base set, like barely over hundreds, and so then you do have you have the top stars out of the WNBA draft. The thing it had going for it last year was the Sabrina Ionescu rookie card, because she was a Kobe Bryant was her mentor. If you didn't know, she was his protege, and one of the greatest tragedies of COVID, of what COVID did to sports, was her not being able to go after that college championship with the Oregon Ducks. Now she's on the Liberty. She's had a little bit of injury problems, but all of her cards and singles and inserts sell really well, and Color Blast is always a very popular Prism case hit. So there's a Sabrina Ionescu Color Blast out there. But as you said, like I think once we get around to the semifinals and the finals, the cream of the crop will rise up. You're always going to have players like Elena Della Don and Sue Bird in those sets, and their autos are always really highly sought after.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna have and then they always throw in the veterans or the legends in there too. But you are gonna have rookies too. Go
and
ahead.
I gotta throw in my alma mater high school, Nimitz High School in Houston, Texas, the home of Brittany Griner, one of the greatest women
Yes.
players on the planet.
And she's still dunking. She dunked.
Yes.
I saw a highlight where she dunked 2 weeks ago. Of course, Baylor Bears Sikkim won a championship in college, and yeah, she's awesome. Like
she dominated in the Olympics. I mean, just dominated.
Really did.
So her stock is definitely up.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then since this is the only set, that means that there's only going to be one rookie card for all the WNBA rookies. So we'll see, like, once the all rookie team is named, once the playoff standings are set, we'll see if any of these cards heat up. But
long-term potential, if you want to buy a box of something and just forget you've got it, that's a great box to do it with, because that limited production exclusivity, that's a very enticing little thing to just have sitting around for a couple of years and then go back and take a look at it.
And Prism is just a fun product with you have all the holographic prisms, all the different colors. Like I said, Color Blast, Downtown, all types of inserts.
It's the best product for basketball, man. That's what everybody goes for.
So. Oh yeah, for sure. They did a good job with that product. It's like the modern day Topps Chrome, I think, because even though Topps Chrome still exists in the baseball realm, we don't have it in the other sports.
Yeah,
people just love that Chrome product. They just love it. I don't know what it is. We just love that shiny foil. And Preston, is there a third product you want to throw out there this week for people to keep an eye on?
Yeah, really, really cool release this week. We're going to have Bowman Chrome baseball coming in. Huge week for baseball. 3 different variations. We're going to have the hobby boxes with 2 autographs per box, 12 packs per box, 5 cards per pack. Then you got the HTA Choice that's only autographs. It's going to be 3 cards per box. 3 autographs, and then the Hobby Light is going to be 10 packs per box, 5 cards per pack. No guaranteed autographs, but you can still hit some nice autographs in those as well. It's going to be the first Bowman card of a lot of these players that were drafted in last year's baseball draft, and so it's going to be a highly sought after product, and we're excited to be getting it in this week.
That once again, that confirms my belief that everyone loves shiny cards, right? So
absolutely, Chrome is always better.
Oh yeah, and it's going to be a lot of fun once these standings for baseball really get sorted out, and then we see what rookies are really highly sought after going into the postseason. And of course, even if they don't make the teams, people are still gonna bet on them going into the future. So. That's always a great product, and it's always a product I wish that I would keep in my closet for 5 years too. Speaking of holding on to something, that would be one to do that with. Just stick it in the back of your closet and then have a great surprise in 5 years, especially if there's like a Hall of Fame rookie sitting in there. That's going to wrap it up for us this week. So before we toss it to Chaz, let's do a glossary term of the week. Preston, I chose a word that I think we probably have said a million times now, but people may not know what it is, and that's refractor. Refractor is a parallel card that has a holographic effect when held towards the light. Sometimes serial numbered, sometimes not. They are one of the most popular types of card variations and typically hold more value than a base card. And a great example of that would be from Bowman Chrome and Topps Chrome, right? So
that's right.
What is do you remember refractors when they first came out in the early to mid 90s?
Yeah, it was early 90s. Topps Finest was the first one, and their refractors were highly sought after. Even back then, those were some of the most sought after cards on the market when that Topps Finest first came out. And then it kind of just crossed over the years into other product and this and that. But one of the first ones was the Topps Finest product.
Yeah,
And
and I still love the way they refract, because that's what a refractor is. So.
Yeah, any of these other cards that you see, the silvers from the Panini and such, those are all just hybrids of the original refractor. So I give Topps all the credit to creating the refractor cards, and what we have now wouldn't be what it is if it wasn't for those first sets that came out in the early 90s.
And that's going to do it for us on Cars to Yards for the Adventure Stadium. For Preston, I've been Mark, and let's toss it back over to Chaz.
On behalf of myself, Preston, and Mark, thanks for watching Cars at Yards, brought to you by the Adventure Stadium and the Adventure Begins Comics and Games, located on 1488 next to a big old movie theater. We'll see you guys next time.